Welcome to the Sacred Awareness Podcast. I'm your host, Angela Dawn. I'm a quantum healer, transformation coach, mystic, and channel of cosmic consciousness. Allow me to be your guide as we explore topics of metaphysics, consciousness, and just being a human in this expansive time for humanity. There is much to discover, so let's get exploring. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about the ego. It's one of my favorite topics. So, before we start the conversation, I'd like to ask you a question. How do you know when it's actually your ego? How do you know? We are so quick to blame the ego, but have you actually taken the time to check in to see if it is the ego? Just hear me out for a second. How familiar are you with the concept of archetypes? I'm going to go over those in the next video coming up. So just keep an eye out for that if you're interested in hearing some more concepts about not only who or what these different aspects are, but how to get them to work with you and for you. So back to today's question. How do you know when it's your ego? What if what you've judged to be the ego is actually your inner saboteur operating in their shadow side? Or what if it's your wounded inner child having a full-blown meltdown with their BFF, your inner victim? I don't know about you, but those two, yeah, quite the dynamic duo in my life for far, far too long. They do play nicely most days. Most days. So, what you need to know right now, though, is there are many, many components to that which we have solely labeled and judged to be the ego. But what if I told you there is an actual purpose and role to the ego? Are you willing to make a shift in your own awareness right now about how you view that? Let's find out. So, maybe you've heard the ego, one of its roles is to keep you safe. And while I'm not disagreeing with that, I am going to tell you there is more to it than that. The role of the ego itself, is to actually offer you an option and a choice to stay within your own grace at all times. That's it. It was never meant to be the scapegoat that us humans have turned it into, blaming one's shitty behavior on their egoic nature. But I'm going to tell you, if you make the appropriate shifts within the constructs that you've labeled as ego, this relationship, well, it can actually turn quite sacred, beautiful. It really can, if you allow it. So, what if instead of telling the ego that it's got to get the fuck out, that it's got to die, that ego death is like the only way to enlivenment or enlightenment? It's not, though. What if you trained your ego to actually become the servant to your soul? And you allowed your soul to become the master of the ego. How might that shift the way you're choosing to move through life? Well, you won't know until you check. So do it. Give it a try. So, how do we actually get the ego in check? Well, there are many ways, but I'm going to just share one with you in this video right now. You stop disempowering it. Period. Stop disempowering it. Why can't you validate your ego instead? Now, a bit of a disclaimer here. Nobody's telling you to listen to what your ego is telling you. It's tricky, okay? You need to observe it though. That's the trick. Observe it. We're not going to use this as an excuse to just be shitty human beings to each other, okay? That's what my ego said to do. No, we're moving past that, okay? So in your free will, your free agency, whatever you want to call it, you are presented with multiple choice points. Just choices to stay in grace, choices to pull yourself straight out of grace, choices to just repeat familiar old habits and patterns, or choices that are new and different. And the ego is just simply offering you that choice. And it is up to you to choose the choices that actually support your most powerful potential. Within this level of work, we are moving past highest and best. I'm going to do a whole other video coming up that covers why asking for the highest and best is actually not highest and best for all. Okay. More about that later, but your most powerful potential. That is actually what you came here to be. Your most powerful and mastered potential. And we cannot do that if we are just sitting here following the advice of the aspect that is only giving you the option if you want to stay in your own grace or if you don't. Okay? So there may come a time in your personal journey of self-discovery that you're going to want to start meeting those different parts, aspect, and pieces that are beautifully and intrinsically you. Maybe you find yourself there right now, and that's what brought you to this video. So all you actually need to do is make the decision that you're ready. Yeah. I don't know if you're aware of this or not. And this completely like blew my mind when I discovered it. Ready is a choice, not a feeling. Ready is a choice, not a feeling. You may never feel ready, but that doesn't mean that you're not, okay? So one more little request that I'm just gonna put out there as we embark on this level of introspective awareness, acknowledgement, and acceptance. I would like for you to put on what I like to refer to as your cloak of compassion and your shield of humility. However you want to do this is perfect. You can do it by intention. You can do it by imagining or just pretending that you're putting on those items. Maybe you want to invoke the graces if that's part of your practices and rituals. If it's not, it could be. Just choose whatever method you want, though. Whatever method you're feeling called to choose right now that invokes humility and compassion. Because you're going to need both of those things. And not only are you going to need both of those things for yourself, you are going to need to present them to the world around you. Okay? So however you feel called to work with compassion and work with humility, just do it. It will help. It will help. It will make this easier. And I'm going to be so bold as to say those things are there for a reason. So why not use them? Why not use them? Okay. So now maybe you've become aware by feeling something shifted. Maybe you've heard talks and rumors about the new consciousness that's seeding itself onto our planet right now. Maybe you just know something's different. you feel something's up, something's changed, it's shifted. So as we're entering this, we're going to call it the golden era of energy, the way we were operating, well, don't you want to try something new by now? Don't you just want to try something new? We cannot just take the old and just throw it into the new without enlivening it or awakening it, invigorating it. You got to do something with it. It brings to mind that old quote from Albert Einstein that you cannot use the same energy to get you out of a problem that you used to create it. I'm butchering the quote, but you following what I'm saying? So I want to share a bit of a visual here before we go further about this consciousness, and maybe it'll help. And this is just the way that it was explained and taught to me. So I'd like you to imagine everybody, all of humanity is just standing side by side. Now, I like to picture either, we're all linking arms with each other, holding hands, something that's connecting us all, okay? But we're just standing in a line and we can't see the road in front of us. We're a little unsure what to do. We cannot see the ground. You look down, there's nothing there. But we know we have to do something. We know we have to move. So all we can do is just put out one foot in front of the other together, because this consciousness is inclusive, okay? Just putting one foot in front of the other, creating it as we go together. So the old consciousness, the I am, okay? So not only am I am, right? And I am this and I am that. I am me and I am a reflection of you. Okay? So, and consciousness. That's what we're experiencing. So what happens in and consciousness? Nothing gets left behind. Okay? So you got these few things going. So we're all standing here, walking this new consciousness together, one foot in front of the other. Everyone's included and everybody can come. Okay, we got all that going for us. Now, because we still have universal law, definitely still here, we're going to bring in the principle of correspondence. Okay, so that you might have heard this one: as above, so below, as within, so without. Okay, so we are a mirrored image of what is happening in the, it's not about hierarchy, but we're still going to call it the higher realms. Okay, or another way I like to put it, inside of time and outside of time. Okay, so I apologize if you can hear my dog. Pet friendly house, what can I say? Okay, so back to where we were. So we have as above, so below, right? As within, so without. So we have all of humanity and inside the human. So with this energy, this golden era of energy, it is inclusive. We are not leaving anybody behind anymore. okay? On the humanity level, everybody gets to come. Everybody not only gets to come, this is what I find to be fascinating. Everybody has a specific job, purpose, mission. I don't care what language you want to use for it. Everybody has a part to play. So, whether those parts are playing in the awakening of another by playing the role of catalyst or role of the teacher, the wisdom sharer, right? Everybody has a role. Maybe your role is to not even awaken in this lifetime, but just show others how to awaken more into their own essence. Okay? There are many, many ways that this could play out. Okay? So I'm not even going to pretend to just give you all of the different ways it can play out, multiple ways. Okay? So if everybody's coming, and it doesn't matter how we've judged them or perceived them to be, awakened or not, harmful or not, helpful or not, they're all coming. So, there's all this talk about 5D. Do you really think we're just going to leave everyone behind? How 5D is that? That's just something to think about. So, as above, so below, as within, so without, in this new consciousness, everybody is included. Okay? So, that means all of humanity. Everyone's coming. So, that also means within the human, everything is coming. Every piece and part of you is needed. They are. Even if you don't believe me, they are. So instead of being busy, judging the parts of us that are too fragmented, too damaged, too broken, okay, what if instead you allowed your more mastered parts of your psyche to come in and help the parts that you're calling unmastered? What would happen? What would happen? Just think about it for a second, okay? Honestly, what would happen if you allowed all of the parts of you to come forth? Remembering that our ego is only giving us a choice. That's it. So, what could you do to bring your ego into your current endeavors? I'm going to share a little bit of an example with you. So, when I decided to start this podcast, I, of course, had all of those normal fears, excuses. That is what they are, excuses. That's what I use them as. Excuses as to why I didn't need to move forward. Excuses about how there were already other people doing this. So why? Excuses. But you know what? My excuses don't even matter. What excuses matter are the ones you're telling yourself. Okay. So my soul told me what it wanted to do, how it wanted to create, how it wanted me to serve. Okay. So what I decided to do, because we're not leaving anything behind. Okay. How am I going to bring my ego into this? How can I allow my ego and my soul to create this beautiful space? Because there's parts of my ego that serve as a motivation. My ego can be very motivating. I'm not sure what yours can do for you, but maybe it's time you ask. So we're not leaving any parts of ourselves behind. We are no longer solely blaming things on the ego. We're going to listen to what it has to say, though. This does not mean that, for example, if your ego is telling you that you need to cuss out that person because they're not listening to you, I'm going to tell you, you don't actually have to listen to that guidance. But did you see how it offered a choice? It gave you a choice of how you want to interact with somebody who disagreed with you. You see? This work can be as easy or as difficult as you actually want it to be. So, if you're ready, I'm going to present you an invitation to start creating in a different way than yesterday. If you're ready to stop leaving parts that you have deemed undesirable behind, if you're ready to bring all of those layers and all of those levels that I hear you talking about bringing, my friends, now is the time to walk your talk. See what happens. See how your relationships shift. See how they change. And I'm going to leave it at that. Now, I do want to ask, if you have found this helpful, give it a like, share it. Consider subscribing so that you can be kept in the loop when I release more videos like this. I would also love to hear your feedback. What did you get from this? Did you disagree? Did you agree? What are your feelings? How do you validate your ego? How can you empower your ego? And lastly, if you're interested in working together, check out my shop. It is at payhip.com/sacred awareness. And you can check out the course option I have going right now on rewriting your life story, as well as just other coaching sessions that we can do. So thank you for spending your time with me. I am greatly humbled. Good luck exploring. And until next time, thank you.